You've probably heard me saying this almost every single compositional video on this channel. Keep your eye on the background. Keep an eye on the background. But what does it actually mean? Why do I insist on it so much? Does it mean that you always need to shoot in a fishing style of photography? Just freezing in one spot, staring at a wall and waiting for an hour for something to happen? Well, not really. I'll come back to that later, but first I want to show you a few photographs. Take a look at this iconic shot by Henry Cartier-Bresson. The background provides the entire narrative structure. Yes, people are the subject, but the background, the curve of the riverbank, the texture on the grass, the positioning of the boat gives the frame its geometry and its soul. Or look at this layered frame from Alex Webb. It's a part of the project he did for Lavasa 2026 calendar. The way the light and the shadows frame everything creates the perfect place to put the subjects. The background fits perfectly, nothing feels out of place here. And it's a complex scene. And like this, in almost every great photograph, there is a readable story and a distinct relationship between the subject and the space behind or around them. The background is not just there by accident. It's almost like it was chosen, and in a way it was. One thing is very important to understand. Things are not as random as you might think in great photographs. The objects are not random, they have been selected from the infinite stream of people on the street. Their placement is not random. Yes, it looks candid and organic, but the photographer timed himself precisely to have everything in the right spot. The majority of the great photographs have a relationship between the subject and the background. Do you know what is one of the first questions that most people ask me when they're interested in street photography? They ask me, how do I create layers? But before engaging in deep explanation of how layering works, I ask them to show me their work. And the most common mistake I see, there is a complete lack of background control. Background is probably the main reason where photos fall. They might have an interesting subject, but then the background is weak. And what do I mean by weak? I mean the background is not helping your subject. Often it is even worse. The background speaks louder than the subject, or it has elements that pull unnecessary attention. When that happens, your subject loses attention points. There is always this relationship between your subject and the environment they exist in. If you're not photographing in a studio with a plain backdrop, you will always need to deal with other elements in the frame. Imagine that in this small area that we call a frame, there is a consistent competition between different compositional elements. At the moment some elements are chosen to be the subject, the rest should become the background. The environment, the stage, call it you want, but the core idea is that their importance becomes secondary. The job now is support the chosen subject, or at least do not distract the viewer from it. And our job is to assign more visual weight to the element we intended to highlight, ensuring that another strong element or a distracting background don't overshine it. But somehow we often fail to do so. One of the first steps of composition mastery is to master that subject-background relationship. So before we start diving into complex compositional concepts like layers, it's a good idea to learn how to photograph with full background awareness. When you figure out that part, the layers will come easier. To understand why we consistently fail and why we do struggle so much with backgrounds, we need to understand how human brain processes vision. When you walk down the street and see an interesting person, your brain instantly locks on that person. It's like a lock and tracking mechanism. Because you found interest in him, it isolates him. Even though your eyes physically are looking at a three-dimensional world, your brain filters out the noise because it only cares about the subject. It's like showing a dog a juicy bone. The rest of the world immediately stopped existing for him at that moment. All he sees is the juicy bone. Similarly, you see a fascinating face or an interesting outfit or an emotional gesture, but the camera doesn't have a human brain. The camera is a dumb, flat machine. Well, you're not dumb. It takes that beautiful 3D experience and compresses it into a two-dimensional thing that we call the frame. It's two-dimensional. So while your brain completely ignores the ugly plastic trash can, the bright neon sign, or the pole that is sticking towards someone's head, the camera records them with brutal honesty. And then back home, when you look at your images on the screen, you find a lot of surprises. You were thinking that you took a picture of that thing that you were paying attention to, but in reality, you took a picture of what was actually there. It was there. It was all there. You simply didn't see it. So how do we fix that? What is the way to overcome that issue? Well, it comes down to habits. You will need to develop a habit of checking out what else is in the frame. In the middle of the excitement of finding your subject, you have to learn to control that natural impulse of fear of missing out the shot and press on the brakes. You need to learn to hit the brakes and look at what else is there. Even if you get overwhelmed and you lose your senses for a few minutes, try to snap back as quick as possible and explore the background. To simplify it, you need to keep one eye on the subject and one eye on the background. And that is very heavy mental process. You don't only need to pay attention to capturing your subject in the best way, now you also need to see their trajectory of movement and process the space they are moving into. This is a lot of visual calculation, and it's not easy for the untrained brain. But with time and more mindful approach to photography, you will develop the concentration and processing power needed to handle it. Let's talk about how to develop this, starting from the absolute easiest scenario and gradually making it harder. Imagine your subject is standing in front of an absolutely clean solid grain studio wall. There is zero texture, zero details. This is the easiest background in the world because it forces a strict visual hierarchy. The eye has nowhere else to look except the subject. If you're shooting on the street, you can find this by looking for large solid plain walls, deeply shadowed doors, or by shooting up against a completely clear sky. Clean backgrounds exist in most places, and if you pay attention, you will find them. The only problem with this approach is that it minimizes the photographic interest down entirely to the subject. If the subject isn't interesting enough, the photo won't be interesting. Now let's complicate it. You move away from the clean wall and suddenly there is a messy street behind your subject. There are cars, signs, crowds. How do we fix it? How do we fix it using our camera gear? Well, first we use Aperture. You open up your lens to a wide f-stop, say f1.2 or f2. This physically blurs the background. Now, depending on your lens, your distance from the subject, and their distance from the background, this can do everything from creating a soft, beautiful washed color where all shades melt away, to simply weakening the edginess and the sharpness of what is going on behind them. The second way is your lens choice. The decision to shoot a scene with a 28mm or a 85mm has a major impact on the background. The 85mm lens narrows your field of view. Pulling the background closer and magnifying the blur allows you to slice out a tiny clean section of a messy environment. You don't need to capture everything you see, you simply focus on a small portion of a chaotic street and places your subject there, or shoot or look for subject in that small area. And look, I know what some of you are thinking. I spent half of my time of this channel pushing people to step away from wide apertures, telling you to close down to f8 or f11 so you can get a real sharp environment in your frames. And here I'm telling you backgrounds are too messy. Well, welcome to the paradox of photography. So far, we've only spoken about the easy ways, level 1 and level 2. Level 1, choose a clean background. Level 2, blur stuff away. Now we're moving towards the master level. This is where we photograph with a closed aperture, but still manage to maintain hierarchy and create images that are clear to understand without an overall messy sub-background. At this level, it comes down mostly to composition. Let's bring back the images we looked at the beginning. In the Henry Cartier-Bresson photo, you can clearly see that he didn't use a shallow depth of field. And yet, the photograph is completely readable. There is nothing unnecessary in the image. At the bottom, you have the 4 separate subjects sitting on the grass. They're all wearing brighter outfits, which helps them to get separated from the darker background. On the upper part, there's a river and a boat. The boat adds a bit more complexity and context, while the river brings simplicity to balance out the busier foreground. We're not going to do a full breakdown of that image today, but you can clearly see that things are organized and nothing is in the background messes up the shot. Now let's go to another Alex Webb work. I want you to look at the photographic thinking here. Does the photograph use shallow depth of field or blurred stuff? Not at all. In the opposite, he uses every element in the background to reinforce his subjects. Look at the distribution of the subjects and how well they connect to the background. From the 4 subjects in the immediate foreground to the one that is in the deep background, who is almost a silhouette figure. Without the background, this photo would lose huge amount of his context. Lavazza surely knew who to choose to their calendar photoshoot. Pure beauty. So how does it work exactly? What is the approach when you are shooting with f8 or f11 and everything in the background is sharp? You can't rely on blur to hide your mistakes anymore. How do you fix it? You fix it by using your feet and your awareness. If a distracting element is hitting your subject's shoulder, you don't necessarily need to move across the street. A tiny 2-inch shift of your camera to the left or to the right can completely hide a background distraction behind your subject's body or move it out of the frame. When I tell you to explore the scene from different angles, exploring the relationship between your subject and background is exactly what I mean. It's a part of it. It's not just finding a new angle. It's finding an angle where the background and your main subject, they work well together. On a bright sunny day, you can use the high dynamic range to your advantage. If exposed for the bright highlights, the areas not touched by the sun will fall into deeper shadows. So if your subject is standing in a patch of bright sunlight and the messy background is in the shade, the background completely disappears naturally because the camera sensor camera cannot capture that entire range. The shadows are a great place to hide things. To expand on this, when you find yourself in a chaotic environment like an open-air market or a cluttered city street, stop looking at the subject, start looking exclusively for the places where the patches of light hits the environment and where the shadows fell. Your camera sensor, unlike your eye, cannot see into the bright highlights and deep shadows at the same time. We can use this technical limitation to completely erase a messy environment. Since the human eye is naturally drawn to the brightest part of the frame first, by trapping your subject in the light and burying the chaos in the shadow, you create an instant aggressive separation that forces the viewer to look exactly where you want them to. I have a video that focuses specifically on shooting in harsh light environment where I expanded on this topic. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Sometimes, instead of hiding the background, you want to make it mean something. Try to connect it with your subject. If you have a person walking past a wall, look at the signs, the graffiti, or the shapes of that wall. Perhaps there is a line or a shadow that can guide the eye towards the person. Do the window frame your subject? Does a line of text add a bit of irony or context to who they are? Sometimes all it takes is connecting different elements to create an idea. And one of the best ways to handle a background is simply to allocate more space to your subject. If your subject occupies 70 or 80% of the image, the small distractions in the corners and the sides, they just lose their power, and your main subject remains completely dominant. Now, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned the fishing style approach. It is probably the absolute best way for a beginner to develop awareness for backgrounds. Instead of chasing subjects, you go out and you consciously search for a beautifully background first. You find the perfect stage, you lock down your framing, and you simply wait for a person to step into the scene exactly where you want them. But down the road, once you trained your eye to do that, you want to take that exact same background awareness and apply it to dynamic, spontaneous moments. The way it should ultimately work is this. You see that there is something happening, you choose your subject, you instantly check your background, analyze your shooting angle, and correct things on the fly. Basically, you use the fishing approach to build the muscle memory, but more importantly, don't stay stuck in that fishing style longer than needed. Get out there and hunt with a background in mind. It is important to understand that the street, it's not a studio. Your subjects are not floating in empty space, and that is not a bad thing. There is no need to be frustrated because there is always something that is messing up with your images. A background can be treated as a gift. It gives you a sense of place, it provides scale, it helps with subject isolation. Look at it as the stage, the place where a photograph happens. Sometimes the stage is already set and looks great. But sometimes we need to make some adjustments using the methods we just discussed. And sometimes you simply can't figure it out, and that's also okay, just move to a different place. The ultimate goal of a good photographer is not just to find interesting subjects, but it's also to develop the dual awareness that will make your photos better. When you raise the camera to your eye, you need to practice split vision. Half of your brain monitors the subject, waiting for the expression, the gesture, or the moment. The other half of the brain must scan the edges of the frame, checking the background, checking the corners, and cleaning up the scene before you even press the shutter. If the background isn't actively helping your story, it might be actively destroying it. So make sure to correct that. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments. I've added few links in the description pointing to more videos covering this subject. Meanwhile, happy shooting and see you next time.